Hello everyone. I have just released the first edition of a book that I edited called Idries Shah Remembered, which is a group of reminiscences and memoirs and all kinds of other bits and pieces written about my father, the writer and thinker Idries Shah. I wanted just to read a couple of random pieces, just little snippets, and give a taste of the book. This is how my introduction begins. To write about my father, Idries Shah, is to attempt to capture the essence of a man who defied easy description. He was a writer, a thinker, a teacher, and above all, a masterful storyteller. But to say that he told stories is to say too little. My father didn't merely recount tales, he lived them. He breathed them, and above all, he wielded them as instruments of transformation. For him, stories were not simply narratives to be enjoyed and forgotten. They were tools, keys designed to unlock hidden doors within the mind. He inherited this tradition from the lands and the cultures he studied so deeply, from the caravanserais of Central Asia, the Sufi lodges of Persia, and the bustling tea houses of the Middle East, where wisdom is not delivered through lectures, but rather woven into the fabric of everyday life through jokes, parables, and seemingly simple anecdotes as well. My father rarely taught through direct instruction, but rather through a kind of description of experience. Drawing on ancient folklore, he presented stories that would linger in the mind until much later their layers would be revealed. With hindsight, I see that he was always guiding my sisters and me, setting us on a path that would allow us to find our own way forward. One of the first stories I remember my father telling me, though he would later repeat it in different forms, was an ancient tale of the blind men and the elephant. He told it not as a children's fable, but as a lesson that applied to all of life. There were once several blind men, he began, who were led to an elephant. Each man touched a different part of the animal and tried to describe what it was. One felt the tusk and said the elephant was like a spear. One touched its ear and declared it to be like a fan. Another, feeling its tail, was convinced it was like a rope. Each was certain of his own truth, but of course each was wrong because none of them had had the full picture. I remember nodding, thinking that I understood the story, but my father was watching me closely, and after a pause he said, "This is how most people live. They grasp a tiny part of the world and assume they understand the greater whole. They argue, they fight, they cling to their narrow truths. But wisdom begins when you realize that your own perspective is very limited," he said.